if when you hear this sound, you're a little apprehensive, there's nothing wrong with you. But we know that this sound can't hurt anyone. And I have to tell you that when I arrived tonight, Liam was kind enough to come out to the van to help me bring the first boxes in. And just as I lifted that box, there was a slight sound that came from it. And Liam intelligently backed away. His eyes got huge, and he said, "What's in the box?" And I said, "I really can't tell you, but I promise you it will be safe. But if you're not comfortable in moving it, I completely understand that. Because I will never operate a motorcycle. You don't want me near a chainsaw. And last week, someone from the Washington Post asked me, what's the most dangerous part of your day? I said, the Beltway. It's clearly the Beltway. I've spent about 1/4 of my life on the Beltway and trying to cross the old Woodrow Wilson Bridge. So Liam did help me move the box, and he trusted me that he would be safe. And all I did, I opened the lid. I didn't drop it, causing an amazing vibration. I kind of moved the safety lid. But this snake is very much so on full alert. We know that in several counties in Maryland, we have beautiful timber rattlesnakes. And I don't mean to turn my back to you. We know that the timber rattlesnakes that live in Maryland are protected by law. So this is not a timber rattlesnake. But this is a kind of rattlesnake that you could encounter easily if you live in Florida, especially if you live in South Georgia. So I appreciate your patience. They don't always rattle before they bite. Counting the rattles tells you nothing. When rattlesnakes are born, they have their first rattle, called the button. And every time they shed, they add another rattle. But one year, she shed 8 times, and one year she shed just 5 times. There are so many kinds of rattlesnakes that live in North, Central, and South America. But this is a snake that I don't think anyone should ever be bitten by, especially a young adult or an adult. Because of its length, the distance it can strike, the incredibly long fangs, the massive venom glands, it's a recipe for disaster. If this snake were on the ground in Florida and a deer walks by, someone on a bike goes by, a person walking goes by, there's a good chance the snake will rattle, because we know that snakes feel vibrations through the bones in their bottom jaw. But when there's a chipmunk nearby, when there's a squirrel, a rabbit nearby, you shouldn't have the rattling, right? The idea behind the rattling is it's a way of the snake's, it's a way the snake lets us know that it's there, even though it doesn't always work out that way. But when prey is in the area, and of course we know the snake can detect prey visually as well as sense of smell, there wouldn't be any rattling. You know, if you're bitten by a rattlesnake, a copperhead, or a cottonmouth water moccasin, there's one anti-venin that you can be given. That's incredible. But with many species of venomous snakes, a much more specific type of anti-venin can be required. My sister and my brother-in-law recently moved to Sarasota, Florida. My brother-in-law told me for 30 years, 2 things he'd never do: move to Florida and build a house. A few years ago, they moved to Florida and built a house. My sister said, there's a beautiful lake behind the house made by people, and we have no alligators. And I said, well, you don't have them yet. Now every week it's a different picture of another alligator, either under the car or in the driveway. And on a popular hiking path just a few weeks ago, someone killed a much larger eastern diamondback rattlesnake. If that sound frightens you, there's nothing wrong with you. But what the question maybe becomes is that if rattlesnakes didn't have rattles, would they be so intimidating?